It's time again for the Science Bowl.
Zoo Parade for 5. What big teeth the hippo has are actually a pair of these. Science Potpourri for 10. Would a snake most likely eat every day? Every week, Dateline Science for 10. Why are some elephants wearing necklaces these days? Green things for 15.
And now, here's your host, Mr. Z himself, Dave Zarin.
Thank you very much and welcome to the Science Bowl today, the second of two semifinal games as we head toward the championship in this year's elementary school competition. And yes, everything looks very different. We've all gotten used to Zoom, and thank goodness it's around because of COVID-19. We can't bring all of our students into the studio here, so we are going to conduct our game here via Zoom. All of our players are in their individual homes, and there are no buzzers today, but we're still going to have a very spirited competition, and I invite you to play along. Let's meet today's teams. First, from Beacon Heights, would you say hello to Jaime Marquez? Next, we welcome Omar Pierre and Miss Anna Trong. And joining us from Whitehall, our contestants today are Estuardo Guzman, Grant Christensen, and Jaden Johnson. And now, here are the categories of questions we use here on the Science Bowl.
Okay, Mr. Z, here's today's categories. Green things, questions about plants and all things green and growing. Zoo Parade, a Noah's Ark of questions about animals. Body systems, we'll see how much you know about yourself, about things like breathing and growing and digesting your food. Let's get physical. Questions that test your knowledge of physics and chemistry, earth science and space science. Then there's Science Potpourri. Here's a grab bag of science questions, everything from air pollution to the kitchen sink. And finally, Dateline Science. We'll ask you about science history and science in the news.
Here on the Science Bowl, we start our teams out at 50 points. There's never any penalty for an incorrect answer. And at the end of our two rounds today, the team that is ahead will be the second semifinalist. They will go on to take on Bond Mill Elementary School for this year's championship in this, our 34th year of competition. If you're familiar with our game, it's going to be a little different today. Each team will receive 18 questions. There will be 3 each from each of our 6 categories. 5, 15, and 25-point questions in green things, zoo parade, body systems, let's get physical, science potpourri, and Dateline Science. And each team will have a chance to confer. They can talk to each other even though they're not sitting right next to each other. All right, teams, let's get started. First of all, we start out with your 5-point question, green things. Here we go. It is humbling to think that 50% of our DNA is shared with this most popular of America's fruits, a great source of potassium.
Bananas.
A banana?
Banana. But you guys knew that one right away. Good start to the game. Here we go. Green things for 15 points. This D initialed, like in David, this D initialed measurement of a tree's trunk, which is double its radius, is also equal to the amount of carbon found in the tree's wood.
Diameter?
Diameter. You got it, Omar. Well done. Lastly, for 25 points, the big one in green things. To help undigested seeds get through a bird's digestive system quickly and to provide a little bit of fertilizer, seeds contain some of this L-initialed medicine that helps birds poop and people poop too.
I think it's laxatives.
It is indeed a laxative, yes. Isn't Mother Nature brilliant to be able to do that, get it through, and help to fertilize that next generation? All right, Beacon Heights, let's go on to the zoo parade. Here's your 5-point question. When Charles Darwin first spotted this animal found on Australia's coat of arms, he said, "Surely 2 distinct creators must have been at work."
Platypus? Because the platypus is more or less like a mixture of a duck.
What do you think, Captain?
The platypus?
Good try. I can see where you came up with that answer. It is actually the kangaroo, found on Australia's coat of arms. Here's your 15-point question, and it is a visual question, Beacon Heights. Look, please. You know, what looks like blood on this hippo's face is actually this type of protective liquid that has a high SPF factor?
Like maybe
Any ideas, guys? What's that?
sweat.
Not sweat. It's interesting. Hippos can get sunburn. So this is actually a kind of sunblock that's producing, natural sunblock. All right, 25-point question for you in Zoo Parade. Author Peter Benchley could have called what famous movie of his about a fearsome sea creature Mandibles, but it wouldn't have had the same impact.
The Loch Ness Monster.
No, that wasn't the name of a movie. The name of the movie was Jaws. Jaws. Mandibles is another name for Jaws. All right, I have 3 more questions for you before we talk to you about yourselves and your schools, and then we'll bring in the team from Whitehall. Body systems for 5 points. BFFs, best friends forever, often link these digits when they make a promise.
Pinky?
A pinky, that's it, Anna. You make a pinky promise. Yeah, you link them up for 15 points. One of the tools to test for coronavirus is something called a nasopharyngeal swab. You've probably seen on TV when they use that. I'll give you 15 points if you can tell me what 2 areas of the body are being examined by the nasopharyngeal swab.
Well, one of them has to be the nose.
Well, one of them is the throat.
And the other one is the throat. You got nice teamwork there, guys. The nose and the throat. You got it. 15 points. Last question for you in this opening round. Body systems for 25. Imagine you're a doctor. One of the vital signs that you check when patients come into your office or into the emergency room is the amount of oxygen in the patient's blood. There are 4 other vital signs that you're going to check anytime a patient comes in. I'll give you 20 points, 25 points if you can give me 3 vital signs that they're going to check for.
Pulse?
What did you say, Omar? Or who was answering there? Was that? Go ahead.
Pulse?
I was gonna say blood pressure. Blood pressure, but
Anna, what did you say?
I was gonna say blood pressure, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Omar?
Respiratory rate.
Respiratory. And do you want to go with all 3 of those?
Yes.
And you are correct. Blood pressure, temperature, pulse rate, and breathing rates. A good opening round there for Beacon Heights. Takes them to 140 points. And now let's find out about these players. You know, they have been here a number of times this year. Beacon Heights has been like a rocket. They have really risen and done so well. And here they are in the semifinals. And Omar, tell us your secret. How'd you do so well?
I think it's just studying a lot of Science Bowl videos, and I think since quarantine has been a thing, I've had to read a lot of different books to learn about science.
You're a very serious-minded young man, and it shows. Not only do you know an awful lot about science, but you know how to prepare yourself. You don't show up unless you've done your homework. Tell us a little bit about your school. Who's your principal?
Miss Walker.
Miss Walker. And she's here today, too. We're going to see her in just a few moments. And who is your wonderful coach?
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, yeah, he can hardly contain his enthusiasm. We really like having him here. He's like a comic and a great mentor. Any alternates on your team? I know you had a couple. Can you remember their names? And if they're here, we're going to bring them in.
We have Hector, Victoria, Caesar, Isis, Malaman, Rodrigo, and Kaylin. I think that's it.
Boy, you did a really nice job. You didn't even have a teleprompter to do that. What's that, young man?
Also Eduardo.
Eduardo. Well, that's a long list, and I can see that that's an important club over there at Whitehall. What do you want to do someday, Omar? What are your plans?
One day I want to either become a YouTuber or make books and become an author.
Become an author. You're a talented wordsmith. I can see you doing that. Keep up your good work here, and good luck in the second half. Let's go over and talk to Jaime. Jaime, you were doing some exercises at the beginning there, and you've been exercising your brain too. You're really ready for this, aren't you?
Yes.
What do you like about Science Bowl?
I like the fact that that it's not individually for one person only. It's team battles, and it's it's really interactive in ways.
It very much is. And as you said, there's no I in team, and it's not an individual triumph. All of you guys working together, as you've already demonstrated here. What do you see yourself doing professionally someday?
Maybe become an architect, since I like drawing, and I've made many rough plans for things that I wanted to build, like a little cup holder for my birds. That way I can hang it on the railing of my bed, because sometimes they like to just sit there.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're a good custodian of that bird there, and obviously you're a good math student too if you want to be an architect. And our third player today is Anna. Anna, how are you doing today? I like your headset. What have you been doing on all these long days when you're not in school? I know you've been studying, but what else do you do in your spare time?
I don't know. I just play games and study and play with my baby cousin.
Your baby cousin.
Yeah.
And what's your cousin's name?
David.
David, like my name too. That's a very nice name. Anna, tell me about yourself, what you see yourself doing someday. Anna, we can't see. All we're looking, I'm just seeing your eyes. If you can just lean back a little bit. Thank you, honey. You have a career in mind yet? Maybe it's too soon. You got a lot of schooling to go and a lot of experiences before you nail something down. Keep up your good work here. All right. We will be right back with the team from Whitehall and their first questions in this semifinal match. Don't go away. Welcome back to Science Bowl, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this game at home. Two outstanding schools vying for the chance to move on in this year's championship, and we're doing this all via Zoom because of the circumstances, but we're still in the middle of a very good competition. All of these students playing today, having made it this far, we started with 40 elementary schools, and now we're down almost to the final two. We have for them, to recognize their achievement, medals, like the one I'm holding here, in bronze, just like the Olympics. We have gold, silver, and bronze medals on these patriotic red, white, and blue lanyards, testifying to the achievement that they have made in their young lives here on the Science Bowl, something we hope they'll always remember and use it as a springboard to go on to more success. All right, we're welcoming now our players from Whitehall, and are you guys ready for your questions? Yeah? Good. I see some smiles out there. I know you're going to have a good time. Here we go. All right, Whitehall. Again, you'll get 3 questions in the first 3 categories, total of 9, and then we'll talk to you about yourselves and your schools before we bring you back for your second set. Here are your Green Things questions. Question for 5 points. China announced that they had recently discovered the oldest fossil of a green plant ever, a kind of seaweed related to what L-initialed plant that's found on a BLT sandwich?
Lettuce.
Lettuce, yes indeed. They're really good too. For 15 points, Norman Borlaug, who won a Nobel Prize, did so because of his green revolution. In the 1960s, he produced wheat that was resistant to what plant disease? Also, the same name as the orange coating that forms on iron as a result of oxidation.
Rust.
Rust, yes. Plants also get rust. Nicely done. Grant and Estuardo and Jaden. Good teamwork. For 25 points. 2-part answer. Forensic ecologists often solve crimes by finding these 2 types of long-lasting plant reproductive parts, both of which are known to cause allergies.
The flower.
The flower, definitely.
Pollen.
What you think? Captain Grant, what are your final answers here?
The flower and the pollen.
Pollen was right. The other one was spores. Spores also can sometimes cause allergies. Good try. We move on to the zoo parade. Zoo parade for 5 points. All right, Whitehall. While a rabbit went down a hole in Alice's Wonderland, it was one of these similar creatures that lost a race with a tortoise.
Hare.
That's right. If people think rabbits and hares are the same, they are not quite identical. For 15 points, here's your visual question. In Zoo Parade, in fiction, people often turn into animals, but none was as disgusting as the giant insect Gregor Samsa turned into in what book with the same name as the complete developmental process from larva to butterfly?
Metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's a book. Don't read that one late at night. You're going to have nightmares. Metamorphosis it was. Good job, guys. For 25 points in Zoo Parade. In 1926, the first ever giraffe exhibited at the National Zoo eventually died because it spent so little time in the sun and thus developed what skeletal disease caused by a lack of vitamin D?
Osteoporosis.
Oh, osteoporosis is a good guess. Actually, the correct answer is rickets. R-I-C-K-E-T-S. Rickets is caused by a lack of vitamin D. Bow-leggedness oftentimes could trace its origin to that. Let's go on to body systems. These will be your last 3 questions before we take our break for interviewing you. Body systems for 5 points. You think you have it tough being on Science Bowl this morning? Imagine poor Atlas, who had to carry the entire world on his what?
Back.
Not back, on his shoulders. On his shoulders. He carried the world on his shoulders. Good try. Next, for 15 points, an emergency room doctor was recently quoted as saying, if you're performing CPR, you're probably not doing it right if you don't break a few of these.
Ribs.
Ribs is right. You got it, Grant. Good answer. Multiple choice for 25 points in body systems. Let's go out with a bang here in your first round. Washington Redskins quarterback Alex Smith, who broke both bones in a leg after a violent tackle, almost lost that leg because of necrotizing fasciitis, a condition in which the bones healed improperly, he lost too much blood, or bacteria started eating at his flesh.
Bacteria started eating his flesh.
You got it. 25 points. Nicely done. That's the end of the round. The first round for Whitehall takes him to 130 points. And now let's find out a little bit about these young people playing our game here today. Whitehall is a past county champ, and I know they'd like to repeat. Let's start with Grant there. Grant, tell us about your school. Who's your principal?
Miss Farmer.
Farmer, that's right. And I know she's here today too, and she's going to join us in just a few moments. And you have not one, you've got 2 coaches. Tell us who they are.
Miss Chocoat and Miss Wine.
Wonderful. And boy, they work so hard to get you guys ready for this. Even in this hiatus, it's been 2 months since we were supposed to do this. I know you guys have been practicing and getting ready for this. Any alternates on your team?
We have Stone, Jake, and Charlotte.
Wonderful. So you got a shadow team out there. Tell me about how you prepare for this game, Grant. First of all, why did you want to do it?
Because my brother did Science Bowl, and he said it was really fun, so I wanted to do it myself.
I hope you agree with him. I hope you're finding this to be fun too, and hopefully you stay with it when you get to middle school. And again, how do you prepare?
I watch a lot of shows from the past, and study the shows.
So you're used to my voice and my style of questioning, and that is a good way to prepare for all this. What do you want to do someday, Grant?
I don't know yet. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of time to decide. I don't envy you. There's so many choices out there. Each generation, it seems like the choices get larger and larger. Let's go over and find out about Estuardo. Estuardo, how you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Good. Tell me where you're sitting. I like that chair.
I'm sitting in, well, this is where I do my work and my homework. And so it's in the living room, and it's a bit messy.
I think all of us have messy places. We've got closets where we have a lot of things, and we try to clean up if someone's coming. That place looks good to me, and it looks like a comfortable chair. Why do you like this game?
I like it because everybody gets a different opportunity, and it's like you don't get any penalties during the game, and it's a fair game, and it's educational as well.
Boy, we're going to make an advertisement using what you just said, because those are all the things we hope people feel about our game here. What have you been doing in your spare time? How do you get through these long days?
we've been taking some walks, me and my family. We've also I've built a ramp on my backyard and I make my bicycle go over it. So I go on the ramp sometimes. We go outside and in the weekends we just play video games.
That's cool. I like that ramp. And as you know, as a good science student, that is a simple machine, too.
Incline plane.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you. All right. And our last competitor here is, there is Jaden. Jaden, you seem to be sinking out there. Is that your bedroom?
Yep.
Yeah. So what have you been doing to keep busy?
Well, I exercise sometimes, or I'll just play video games a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll watch YouTube on stuff like animals.
I think that's great. What do you want to do someday, Jaden?
I want to be a basketball player.
You play on a team now?
No, I can't really because of the coronavirus.
Now, a lot of the basketball courts and playgrounds are roped off now because of COVID-19. Is that the case, or do you have a hoop at your house?
Yeah.
That's good. Because get outside, get that exercise in, because otherwise, brain needs exercise and so does the body. All right. Good luck, guys, in the second half, and we will be right back with the second set of questions for Beacon Heights. Game is close. Don't go away, folks. We'll be back with you in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. This is the second half of this semifinal game. We've got Beacon Heights and Whitehall very close, just 10 points separate them. In this round, again, 9 questions for each of our teams. 3 each in our 3 remaining categories here. And let's see. Jaime and Omar and Anna, are you ready? Anna's still shaking her head no. She's saying, why did I sign up to do this? Honey, you're doing a nice job. All of you are. All right, and you're smiling too. I like that. All right, here we go. Here are your 3 questions, and let's get physical. You ready? 5 points. In elementary school, where you are now, maybe when you were in kindergarten, you might remember the teacher talking about the wheels of the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round, as they turn on these.
Wheel and axle?
Axle, you got that right. See, I couldn't fool you there. Not that I was trying. Wheel and axle, that's it. For 15 points, and let's get physical. While a plane's engines provide the thrust necessary to fly, it is the Bernoulli principle's effect on the wings that provide this force.
Elevation?
I think elevation would just be how high it is. The pull?
Not the pull. You guys were dancing around. It's the lift. It provides the lift. The air going faster over the top of the wing than below, and that provides that lift. Good try. Here's your 25-point question, and let's get physical. It's a visual. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you'll recognize this. The Grand Canyon is one of the world's tremendous geological wonders, and it has been around for millions and millions and millions of years. And the kinds of rocks that are in the top 40 layers are sandstone and mudstone and limestone. All of those kinds of stones, sandstone, mudstone, and limestone, are these kinds of rocks.
Sedimentary?
You got that right. Sedimentary it is for 25 points. Great answer. We move on now to science potpourri for 5 points. The best way to avoid an emergency dental visit, especially during a pandemic, is to avoid eating this snack food with its hard, tooth-chipping kernels.
Corn?
Popcorn?
Oh, popcorn.
Yes, it is. It is indeed popcorn. And also those little shells that get stuck underneath, and boy, they hurt. Dentists say people always come in saying, please do something. Science potpourri, 15 points. It is now thought that humans, like birds and fish, can likely detect and thus navigate by these kinds of
GPS,
fields.
I think.
Go ahead. What?
I think it's GPS.
No, not GPS. Birds, if they had GPS, that would be great. Their GPS is magnetic fields. That's the kind of fields I was looking for. Science potpourri for 25 points. Anna, you're sinking again, honey. Could you just sit up? That's it. Science potpourri for 25 points. To kill most of the bacteria on leafy greens, if you're going to eat a salad made of spinach and kale, Spray them with acetic acid, better known as this.
Herbicide?
Not a herbicide. Remember, you've got to eat this. Acetic acid is also known as vinegar. Vinegar is acetic acid. All right, last 3 questions for you in Dateline Science. Here we go. 5 points. Since Limburger cheese smells like human feet, yeah, it stinks, Africans are baiting mosquito traps with it to help reduce the occurrence of what disease, which means bad air?
Malaria?
Malaria. That's it, Anna. For 15 points in Dateline. Black holes emit small streams of particles that are named for this famous astrophysicist who introduced the world to black holes.
Stephen Hawking?
Yes, it is Stephen Hawking, and they call it Hawking particles. You're on a roll. Let's get this last one here. Dateline for 25 points. Last question of the game for you. Scientist Stanley Dudrick saved millions of lives by providing post-surgical patients with enough food via intravenous to keep them alive. Otherwise, these patients were dying from what M-initialed condition?
I was going to say melanoma, but that's not my answer. And I don't think it's right.
It's a good guess. Anybody else there? Jaime, Omar? What M-initialed condition were patients dying from if they weren't getting enough food, which is why that IV with the food was so important? It's called malnutrition. Malnutrition. All right, Beacon Heights ends that round with 195 points. Let's get back now to our team from Whitehall, Estuardo and Jaden and Grant. Gentlemen, let's start with your Let's Get Physical question for 5 points. Imagine a comic strip, 2 flasks sitting next to each other. One flask, filled with vinegar and baking soda, starts bubbling over. The flask next to him says, "Dude, you're over what?"
Reacting.
Reacting. You are overreacting. That's it. Good. 5 points. Next, for 15 points, to prevent steel cans from rusting, they're galvanized with a thin layer of this metal, which is next to last alphabetically on the periodic table.
Zinc?
Zinc is right. Yes. Zirconium is the last one. Nice job, Jaden. Next, for 25 points and Let's Get Physical. Famed NASA mathematician Katherine Johnson, who you might have seen in the famous movie Hidden Figures, was responsible for calculating what T initialed, as in Tom, what T initialed path for John Glenn's space shot.
Trajectory.
Say it again, please.
Trajectory?
You got that right. It is the trajectory. Excellent. Science potpourri for 5 points. If your original hunch for your science fair experiment was wrong, you are said to have disproved your what?
Hypothesis.
That's it. You all knew that. Perfect. Next, a visual question for you for 15 points. You'll recognize this dinosaur. If you know why a brontosaurus was called a brontosaurus, you'll know that brontophobia is a fear of what weather phenomenon?
Rain?
Hurricane?
Thunder. Brontosaurus means thunder lizard. Next, here's a 25-point question for you in Science Potpourri. A wooden bridge held up only by friction and gravity was originally designed by this famous scientist who also painted the Mona Lisa.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, you all knew that. Perfect. All right, last 3 questions for you. Dateline for 5. The Ides of March are March 11th. St. Patrick's Day is March 17th. Pi Day is March what?
31st?
The 13th, March 13th, 3.14 pi, March 3, 14th day. 15-point question. The germs that cause COVID-19 and food poisoning are similar but not identical because COVID-19 is contagious, whereas food poisoning is not. However, both COVID-19's germ and food poisoning's germ are both what I initialed. You would describe them both by what I initialed adjective. They are not both contagious, but they are both what? Infectious. Infectious was the right answer. Last question for you for 25 points. Instead of Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci standing next to President Trump, as is happening now as we fight the coronavirus, back in 1955, President Eisenhower was standing next to Dr. Jonas Salk as the country fought what other epidemic disease?
Polio.
It is polio. Nicely done. That's the end of the round for Whitehall. Takes them to 230 points. And we will be back in just one moment after we double check that score and tell you who is our semifinalist and meet everybody involved on both of these wonderful teams. See you in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. What a game this was. You know, we knew it was going to be close because the talent on these two teams was through the roof. And you could see, I hope you were playing along. I'm sure you were stumped by a lot of the questions that these young people got. But Science Bowl has been around for all these years, and each year, just a wonderful example of the elite students we have and the amount of time they put in their science literacy. Our final tally today is 195 for Beacon Heights, 230 for Whitehall. So it will be Whitehall versus Bond Mill in this year's championship. And I hope you'll tune in for that. I say we give a round of applause, first of all, to that wonderful team from Beacon Heights. Everybody, Beacon Heights. Beacon Heights, nice round of applause. And also for our team that's moving on, Whitehall, a chance to be a second-time county champ. A clap for Whitehall. Wonderful job. And all of our alternates are out there. All of our principals are out there. All of our coaches are out there. Boy, each and every one contributed to making this possible because this wasn't easy. And were it not for Chuck Wolf and Catherine Francoeur behind the scenes here, making sure all this Zoom works properly, this wouldn't have happened. So my thanks to them and thanks to all of you. You all have a great summer and hopefully we'll see you back in the fall.